What's going on, guys? It's KY, not Kai the Creative, and today we're going to be talking about the Sony FX3, which is the most versatile camera that I have in my bag. It's so versatile that there are distinct builds that I use for this camera for different type of client projects. So without further ado, we're going to go into the 3 ways that I build out this camera for all of my client work and all of my personal work, and just generally how I use the camera. Now for general vlogs, general run and gun, something that doesn't draw a lot of attention to myself, I'm going to use something called the vlogger setup. This is something that's simple, it's easy to put together, and it's something that's commonly used with common pieces that you'll see amongst YouTubers and other content creators like that. So the first thing I'm going to be using is the Sigma Art 24-70 lens. Now this Sigma Art lens is a little bit more affordable than its G Master counterpart, but it also has a great zoom range at 24-70 millimeters, and at 2.8 it's great in low light. So you do have the versatility of being able to get wider shots or tighter shots when you need to, and it still has a pretty good depth of field and a pretty good low light performance. So I'm gonna just put this on the camera real quick, and there we go, we have that done. Next thing I want to talk about is our audio source. Now, you can use XLR mics on the FX3 using the top handle, but for run and gun situations and vlogging type things, I just use the Rode Video NTG mic. So this is a microphone that you can use. What I like about it is that you can actually adjust the gain dial right on the side, and then I can attach it on the camera, so if I notice that my levels are too high, I can make those changes on the fly without sifting through a bunch of menus. Now, if you want me to tell you that I do YouTube without telling you I do YouTube, is having one of these things. Now this is the GorillaPod Mini Tripod. Now this is one of the most common things that you will see amongst vloggers because it's something where I can just kind of set up the legs if I need to, and I want to get a locked off tripod shot, and I don't want to use a gigantic tripod. I could balance this on books, I could put it anywhere I want to. Now the only caveat is because these legs have a lot of flexibility to them, it's hard to get your camera to be level. So when you are using this, just turn the level on your camera and it should work pretty well. And that's it. This is the vlogger setup. So this is pretty common that you're going to see amongst YouTubers. If you guys are using the FX3 and you want something that looks like the setup, this is basically what it's going to look like, and there are some of the pieces that I will use for that vlogging workflow. Now this right here is my gimbal rig for the Sony FX3. So what I have on this particular setup is the Ronin RS2 gimbal with the back handle that's going to go on the back of the gimbal, so I have a little bit extra stability. I have the Atomos Shinobi as my monitor while I'm monitoring on the camera. Now this camera has a flip out screen, so you could use either or, but if I want a bigger screen, I'm going to use the Atomos Shinobi. It also still has the Rode microphone that's on the top, and I've actually changed the lens a little bit. So the FX3 actually is attached to the 35mm G Master lens. The reason why I like prime lenses is as it's sharp, it's a quick autofocus, and when I'm doing gimbal shots, I don't want to have to worry about the barrel going in and out when I zoom in, throwing off the weight. So it was easy for me just to use a prime lens because I don't have that option available, so I won't end up using it and screwing up the balance on my camera and on my gimbal. So this is pretty much the rig that I'm going to use. This thing is for if I need stable shots, if I need smoother pan ins or rotational shots, things that you can't get handheld to be smooth. I also use it a lot when I'm doing things like fashion and I want things to have like a smooth slow motion shot that pans in and pans out and things like that. So this is a really great gimbal for it as well. And if you want to start using it with the weight, I'm going to turn this bad boy on. And it's not super hard to use. You can move this back and forth. If I need to get dolly push ins and out, I could use it for that as well. And it's a nice one-handed gimbal setup. So this is normally how I use my camera as a B camera, where the FX6 actually will be the A camera on sticks or something that's handheld. But if I need a gimbal shot, I will be using this with the FX3. And for my last rig build, this is my cinema rig. So this is how the FX3 functions as a B camera, a second cinema camera, if that's what you want to call it. But it actually is made to assist for my FX6. Sometimes my FX6 is tied up, or I have 2 cameras at the same time, or I have double interviews, or maybe I just don't want to unrig the current setup I have on my A camera, so I'll use this as a B camera. Now, what you'll notice is I'm still using the top handle with it, and it holds and it handles a lot like you would a normal typical cinema camera. It still has all of the accessories that are on there. It's making use of that top handle with the 2 XLR imports, so I could use an XLR microphone for high quality audio, as well as a lot of Lear mics, so I have double channels, I have that coverage if I need it. I'm also still using the same monitor, which is the Shinobi, the 5-inch monitor that's there as well, and everything's hooked up onto rods and on a cage. Now what you'll notice is a lot of cages don't have the ability to allow you to use a top handle on the FX3. I changed it up and I actually used the Smallrig half cage. The Smallrig half cage is great because I still get to have the best of both worlds. I can still mount options just like you would a normal cage, but I could also use a top handle to get that high quality audio at the same time. So that's the way that I've built out this particular camera. So if I need something that's a B camera for B-roll, or I have a 2-camera interview and I want to make sure the exposures match up pretty well, or if I just want to use this as a smaller setup, which isn't that small, but if I want to use it as something that's a little bit easier to travel with and it fits in a smaller backpack, I will be using this FX3 cinema rig, and believe it or not, it does fit in a smaller package. Now I'm gonna put the accessories that I will use up on the side there, and I'm gonna leave it there, but if you guys want an in-depth review or in-depth look at the rig build that I use for any of the cameras that I use, leave a comment down below, and I could actually do a more in-depth video on how I use these parts, how I configure these camera builds, and what I use them for. But this guy in particular is a nice B camera for my FX6 when it's either tied up or if I just need to get some B-roll on the fly, and this camera's right beside me ready to go. That being said, that's the end of the video. If you guys liked this, make sure you comment, you share, subscribe, do all the things that you do for normal YouTube channels. There's gonna be more videos coming out soon, but if you do have any suggestions on any videos that you want me to make here on this channel, leave a comment down below and we'll see if I can get to them soon. This has been KY Not Kai the Creative, and I'm out of here. Peace.